the sound of Formula 4 cars race around Sydney Motorsport Park here this weekend. Here, Australian Formula 4 returns for round number 5 here this weekend, and you can very much hear the beautiful, beautiful sound of those amazing F4 cars as they run down this back straight and up through the top part of the circuit. Here, a bit of a delay to the start of this race for race number 1 here this weekend. It is great to have your company here today as these cars make their way around. I'm currently waiting for the World Feed to turn on their microphones here because it doesn't seem as if they have them on. It's fine if they don't, but I'm going to guess they will turn them on in a few moments' time. But the beautiful, just take in the sound of these cars for a few moments, because in not many streams do I get the chance to really take in the sounds of these cars. And
back live at
there you go.
Motorsport Park, whether you're here at the track or watching via Blendline TV on YouTube, welcome back. We've got our first AU4 race of the weekend about to start. The cars are on the track. A small but highly concentrated field. And as they form up, we'll just bring you a quick score update from the MCG, and at half time, it's all squared up. Geelong and Brisbane each 36 points. That's 5 goals, 6 each. If you care, I don't, but I thought you might. And the Bledisloe, well, we're still getting flogged.
So it turns out the commentary isn't that good on Blendline TV radio. Apparently, it's not that good. So I hope to God that the commentator gets a little bit better throughout this race. I hope for my sake. I hope for my voice. I haven't even shown a starting grid. What the flip is this? Green flag at the back of the grids. The front row is on. We're going to get the lights on the gantry in a few moments' time. And we're about to go racing for Australian Formula 4. Lights on, lights out, and away we go for Australian F4. The AU4 Championship car stall in the back of the grids. There, further back down the grids. But so far, so good. Good start from everybody off the grids as they file and run down into turn number 1. 13 leads the way up into turn number 2. Who will be last on the brakes? Who will hit the brakes last? That's the big question. Bit of a lock up there from number 11. As we make our run through, up to the top, in through Bond Bend. And through fast sort of section of corners. Killen leads over Dusky, sorry. In P2. Kotovich, McNeil, Burton, Radburn, Fitzpatrick, Wilson, Stewart, Samuels, Babbage, Getstilda, Sue, Arith, and Lane, your top 15. Only 15 cars on this Australian Formula 4 grid. But I hope for my sake here in this stream that the commentary gets just a little bit better. At least I'm hoping. Yeah, 20 minutes for the Australian Formula 4 Championship here to run by, as Killen leads by just 1 second here over Dusky in second, and then Kotovich in P3 as the cars make their run through the final corner and out onto the back straight, and then the fast turn 1 as McNeil pulls out, trying to get a bit of fresh air. Car in front, which is, of course, Kotovich. Now, the car that stalled off the grid was Babbage in the number 41. He stalled off the grid. Wasn't able to get that car moving, as we have a slow car. That is Babbage. Slow out of the final corner. Bit of a problem there. Possibly might have to box within the next few laps to get that one sorted. But Killen still leads 1.2 seconds to the gap. You can see there, big oil drop down there at turn number 6. Sorry, that's turn number 9. As big lock up there from the incoming car of Burton. As Radburn sits in behind him, closely following in for that slipstream. 20 minutes plus 1 lap for these Australian F4 cars. The Australian AU4 Championship this weekend. As Kubica drops back down the field into P14. Babbage back into the pits with that problem. Possibly going to retire out of this race. 17 minutes, 50 seconds to go. Plenty more action still to come. With race 2 and race 3. Race 2 a bit later on today. From 6:30 tonight. And then, of course, race number 3 tomorrow morning. From 9 AM. So, quite an early start. But up next, we have the Hi-Tech Oils Super Series out on track. I hope to God that... I hope for... Actually, no, it won't start, which is good, meaning I was expecting this to run for at least an hour, but it's due time for 20 minutes, so that should be fine, more or less. Should be fine indeed, as the cars make their way into the hairpin. Here, in the hairpin. Really important to get the power down. Makes for a good run out of the hairpin, and then also makes for a good run down through into the final corner, on a complex of corners around this circuit. But Killen leads 1.7 seconds back to Dusk for the number 35 car. Now, 16 and a half minutes to go out of a 20-minute race. This is round number 5 in this championship. We have Physique leading the championship, not able to make it this weekend. Physique not able to make it this weekend here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Racing around this very iconic circuit, of course. We saw many battles here, and we even saw that very iconic crash that left one person dead at the scene. Very, very iconic. Meanwhile, side by side here, what a battle this is as they make their run through Bond Bend. And Wilson stepping out in the wheel down there. Not exactly where you want to be. Fitzpatrick and Wilson there. That was side by side for P7. Very, very much side by side. As a car off the roads, and this is going to be a big crash. It is! It's a big, big crash. Big crash, and there was a car off the road. That must have been a brake failure. And that was Wilson going straight on. Wilson and Lane. Lane lost all breakage in that car. Big, big brake failure inside that car. Big crash. And this will be a safety car. Big, big crash. At the hairpin down there. Big, big brake failure. And not what you want to see on a Formula 4 car. Big, big brake failure. And I'm going to guess we're going to get a safety car intervention anytime soon. How is that car still moving? The number 6 car, though, not moving. And he's out of the car. Let's take a look at the replay. And big, just like a brake failure. God. Wow. And if there was another camera view there, that would be almost perfect. But there is substantial damage to the number 21 of Wilson. How that car still moving? We will never know. But that was a big brake failure. And I'm going to guess there's going to be chassis damage to the number 6 of Wilson there. And immediately safety car intervention coming in here. But big brake failure for 21 of Lane. Big brake failure. And there's going to be very much chassis damage to the number 6 car. There's most likely going to be chassis damage there, quite unfortunately. And let me tell you this much, chassis are not that easy to rebuild. This is why we are under the safety car here. Big, what seems to be a brake failure. I could be wrong. Bang! Straight into the side of Lane there. Straight to the side of Wilson. Wilson unsighted, not knowing that that car was coming at about 150 k's an hour into the hairpin. You cannot, wow, brake failure. That's, yeah, very much a brake failure. And first safety car intervention in this race, quite unfortunately. As the minute crowd watches over. 12.5 minutes to go. Safety car intervention here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Big brake failure. Big brake failure indeed for Lane. Sadly, took out Wilson out of this race. Possible chassis damage to Wilson. Possibly a bit of whiplash as well for both drivers. Normally, whiplash comes to the driver that gets hit, and there will possibly be a whiplash for Wilson there. 12 minutes, 10 seconds on the clock. Still to run in this race. The gap was at 1 second. That substantially dropped because of the Hyundai i30 safety car leading the field around while we wait for the Wilson car to be retrieved and moved out of the way. So with that, we drop to 12 cars in this grid. Very unfortunately there. Unfortunately, we will drop to 12 cars on this grid. Of course, like most Formula 4 cars running on the Pirelli tyre, which is a very grippy sort of tyre, must I say. Very grippy indeed. As we look at Jack Burton, number 30. Very young drivers here in Formula 4, hoping to move on to some of the bigger levels. Formula 4, of course, you can choose any type of Formula 4. Italian F4, you've got the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. You've even got Formula 3, which I don't think you can start in Formula 3. I think you can start in Formula 4 or go-karting. Yeah, you make your way through go-karting, and then, of course, you choose the path that you want to go through. Formula 4 can lead to anything in this world. And even this, Australia's most competitive Formula 4 championship, and the only Formula 4 championship within Australia, going around Australia to race. And this weekend we race at Sydney Motorsport Park. We had a double header in Sydney Motorsport Park last time out as well. Sadly, it wasn't streamed. I was going to stream it that weekend, but double header here in Sydney Motorsport Park. Private event, I think that was. This is the quite unfortunate number 6 of Wilson car gets towed back to the pits. 9 minutes, 50 seconds to go. Here in this Australian Formula 4 Championship race. Quite good to be back streaming. Been about a week since we were last live for the Formula 1 World Championship. Very much once more dominated by Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen very much dominating that last time out when we went racing at Azerbaijan. And Very dominant indeed. 2 in a row. Max Verstappen, if he wins every race and Lando doesn't score points, can win the championship. If Oscar doesn't score any points and Lando scores 1 or 2 every race from now on, Max can win the championship. Who would have thought Max Verstappen, from at the start of the season, struggling to get race wins? If he wins every race from now, he can win the championship. McLaren very much have to step up for the next round of the Singapore Grand Prix. Of course, we'll be live streaming that. Live streaming every single practice session, every single qualifying session, every single race weekend. Of course, thank you to our officials and volunteers. To become a Motorsport official, visit motorsport.org.au/official. You can come into these more or less small events, official them, wave the flags that are oh so important around this circuit. We do not go racing without the marshals here. If there were no marshals, we would not be racing. And they very much give up their weekends to come here and take all that support to these small championships. We have the sports sedans this weekend. I think it's just sports sedans this week, and I very much could be wrong. Let me check that. So this weekend we have the sports sedans. We have the super sport cars as well out on track. So only two race meetings going on here at the Sydney Motorsport Park. This very iconic circuit as well, known for that very, very big crash a few months ago. Very unfortunate to see that sort of stuff happen, and very, very much fortunate to see that big of a brake failure from Lane and Wilson, the number 21 and the number 6, coming together. Their big brake failure. But we still are under control from the Hyundai i30 safety car. Here. Still under control from that Hyundai i30 safety car. Here. I love the sound of a Formula 4 car. I very much do. It's very much a nice sound to listen to. And for those people that joined in at the start of the stream, you would have heard the sound of that beautiful Formula 4 engine. That V4 engine running around this more or less beautiful circuit as the recovery team work as fast as possible to get that car. It doesn't seem as if it can be moved just by being towed. It has to be physically towed on the back of a tow bed. So this is that's the reason why it's taken a bit longer under the Hyundai i30 safety car. Normally Sydney Motorsport Park officials work really quickly, but in this case it was a matter of possible big chassis damage. Hopefully we hear confirmation of Wilson, hoping he's A-OK here. So this is why we are under the safety car here. Big brake failure for the number 21 of Lane, going straight into the side of Wilson. Big accident. And you don't see many brake failures, but in the situation that you do see a brake failure, it is not good. Sorry, live chat is currently unavailable. Whoops. Well, here we go again, indeed. Yep. How are you, Thomas? How are you? How are you, Thomas? Hope you are enjoying your midnight here. You've joined probably, you could have joined 7 minutes ago and you would have witnessed probably the biggest brake failure I've seen in my life. Heading down into the hairpin, we saw Wilson, probably, I'm going to guess it's a brake failure, big brake failure, just couldn't get the car stopped, brake failure, ran straight into the side of the 21 of Lane. Lane ran straight to the side of Wilson, and possible chassis damage, suspension damage, somehow, you know how Formula 1, Formula 2, Formula 3, Formula 4 cars, when you get hit, normally it breaks the suspension, you get the wheel torn off. That didn't happen. So I'm sort of still questioning how the flip that didn't happen. How that didn't happen is beyond me. How that didn't happen is absolutely beyond me. 3 minutes 50 seconds remaining. How is your midnight stint going, Thomas, during stream? As we continue around the safety car. We've been on a safety car now for about 10 minutes. We want to get back to racing. It would be very much nice if we got back to racing. But the crews have now packed up. They're gone. So the Wilson car has now been packed up. We should be back to green flag this lap. That would be a very much late call from race control. If we are going back to racing this time around. The Hyundai i30 safety car pulls away. Of course, he can't weave. Now, Americans, you won't know this, but in Australia, you cannot weave until the time... You can't weave when the safety car lights go out. When those safety car lights go out, you cannot weave. And that's something big that we've seen in previous championships. For example, the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship or the Repco Supercars Championship. Many incidents, or even the Bathurst 12 Hour, when we've seen it in the past. We've seen American drivers get caught up in that as that possibly, who's that? Jumping before the line, overtaking possibly before the line. These young drivers, of course, got briefed on Friday morning as cars slow off to the left-hand sides. We run into turn number 1, and so far, so good. Kostic gets around the outside of Dusk, tries to get the move back. Dusk, not going to happen, as they all file up into turn number 3. Up the inside goes Kotovic. Side by side on the exits. Is he going to be able to keep it there? No, he's not. Killian runs away. 2/10 the margin. Kostovic gets the move done. He's up into P2. Dusk in P3. Everybody calms down. Of course, only a 12-car grid. We were at 15 cars. Back down to 12. Kotovic, though, moves himself up into second. Killian seems very quick. He was quick in free practice. The 4 free practice sessions that these cars got. All 15 minutes each. Plus, that's very so important. 10-minute qualifying session to determine this grid. Of course, all the drivers got briefed on Thursday morning as to where track limits are. Of course, you can't weave under safety car. We saw a few cars. You can't weave when the safety car lights go out. So when those safety car lights go out, you cannot continue to weave. If you continue to weave, then that can become a problem. It very much can become a problem here as the cars shoot down the straights. Take a listen.
Yes. Well, not blitzing them. He's pulled out a little bit of a gap. Yeah.
And sadly, the absolute atrocious commentator, atrociously, intrudingly bloody... interrupts his Dusk up the inside at turn number 3. What a move there. Late on the brakes. And in the bond bend, he gets that move done. 40 seconds to go. The atrocious commentator talking about the AFL. Of course, it is the AFL grand finale, but I don't... Who gives a crap? It's AFL. Don't care. Talks about it at the start of the stream. But what the flip? Like... The atrocious commentator continues to get more atrocious. So I'm having to do it myself. Thank you. Thank you, but no thank you. Killian, though, leads 1 second to the gap there. I hope I genuinely don't get banned for saying that. I don't think I will, but that's fine. Killian, though, he leads 1 second. This time around, it will be the final lap of the race for Killian. We didn't get many racing laps in, but of course that big accident had to make sure safety first for each and every one of these drivers. Burton, Radburn, and McNeil, Burton and Radburn will go toe-to-toe around the final corner. And this is for 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th in this race. Towing each other right down the back straight. And into turn 1, we saw that atrocious accident just 2 months ago, when we saw a sports sedan car roll many, many times at turn 1. Caught the catch fencing. Sadly, the driver died at the scene. Very, very unfortunately there. I caught the... we still don't have replays. We still do not have onboard footage. And so appropriately because, you know, you don't normally get a person, in that big of an accident. And that's understandable as to why they wouldn't show that sort of thing there as the cars make their run up through the hairpin here. And with the final lap has commenced, Kilian makes his run through the final few corners. The penultimate corner now for Kilian. The number 13 car has absolutely dominated here in race number 1. Of course, most of this race led under safety car, but that's fine. Kilian will win here in the AU4 Championship race number 1. What a race! And Kilian, he leads and wins by 1.1 seconds. Dusk and Kotovic, McNeil, Burton, Radburn, Fitzpatrick, Stewart, Samuels, Arith North in P10, Cadiz, Sue, Lane, Wilson, and Babbage, who sadly did not make it off the grid. What a race we saw there from the AU4 Championship there, as that concludes this race. As the checkered flag official waits for the remaining cars to cross the grids or cross the line to finish the race. But what a race it has been, as we see there, Babbage coming to the line. That is actually Wilson coming to the line. Wilson and Babbage still waiting for them. Hey, you can't go further backwards than last. As we take a look at the provisional results, Kilian, Harrison, Dusk, Corin Kovacic, Isaac McNeil, Brock Burton, Imogen Radburn, Andrew Fitzpatrick, Diago Stewart, Jesse James Samuels, Christian Aruth in P10. From there, we saw the DNFers out of this race, the did not finishers out of this one. But good job to Noah Kilian, who wins race number 1 for the Australian Formula 4 Championship. Lawrence Caditz, Chloe Lane, Jamie Lee Sue, Kobe Wilson, and Xavier Babbage Hock in P15. Of course, all Australian drivers in this championship. As we await for the next cars to hit the grids, not even sure. I think it's the sports sedans to hit the grid next. So that's it, though, for the Australian Formula 4 Championship race number 1. We've got about half an hour until the next stream gets underway, which is, of course, get it right. High-Tech Auto Super Series from 9:30, which is about half an hour, or it could be 10 a.m, not sure. But that's it for the first race for the AU4 Australian Championship. Catch me for race number 2, 6:30 tonight. Not sure what that time is for you, Elizabeth. It's going to be like 9 a.m. for you, so it's perfect time. Race number 2, a little bit later on today. But until then, it is goodbye.